always delayed, I noticed during the recordings. That should be enough time. Hi, I'm Ray Dickey, South Carolina and Hudson Valley CAI Association Help Now. We are in many different states. I appreciate you being here very much. This is our manager panel. I enjoy doing these panels greatly because the managers always come up with something that I haven't thought about. After doing these for so many years, there's always something that usually comes up. And I think that's terrific. And I love having the managers have time to have some time alone just to talk about some things. I am remote. I am in my son's apartment in Miami, Florida. I am dog sitting. So that's why you're not seeing all my regular screens. And I must admit, I'm a little kind of out of sorts with what I'm doing today because I have a lot of equipment in my little studio than I do here. And somebody was asking, this is not a screensaver. It is, my son's on the 84th floor of Brickell, Miami. So that's where I am. And I was just watching some giant birds go by. Before I go any further and have everyone introduce themselves, I am going to launch a poll. If you are here, let me find if I can launch it because there's so many windows. If you are here for CEUs, please click what you need. If you're one of the panelists, you can click it too if you want to. Everybody has a question feature. Please use it today. Send me comments, send me questions. If I close the poll before you have time, just use the question feature and say, hey, Ray, I need CEUs. Don't worry about what you ask. I don't use people's names. But with that being said, a bit of a disclaimer, I could make a mistake someday. So don't send me anything too top secret. But Heather, I've not made a mistake yet, but you never know. So don't send me anything too top secret. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And like I said, if I closed it before you had time, please use that question feature. These programs in particular rely so much on audience participation. So I absolutely want to hear back from the audience as much as possible. And I can't get my audience reader thing to work, which is irritating me greatly. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. With that being said, let's have our panel introduce themselves with who I see first, and that is Anita.
Hey, I'm Anita Knuckles. I'm a CAM in Panama City Beach, Florida. I've got a high-rise, 23 stories, not near as big as yours, with 162 units.
That's big enough to be a lot of work, right, Anita? That'll keep you busy.
And a lot of elevator problems, yes.
Yeah, oh yeah. Heather.
Hello, my name is Heather Cameron. I am a community manager in New Jersey, near Trenton, and we have 382 units.
All right. And Heather, have I ever met you in person? I feel like I know you, you know?
I don't think so.
Okay, I know I think we've spoken on the phone a couple times for some reason, but.
If you've ever been to a Keystone event, CAI Keystone.
Oh, okay, I used to go. I haven't been that lately, but that's very much possible. Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew Bennett from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm a business partner, part owner of a management firm. Also, I'm still in the day-to-days, manage a few neighborhoods as well as manage our on-site management team.
So just so the audience knows, all our manager panelists have never been here before, and I've never really spoken to them at length. So we're all just kind of getting to know each other today. David Byrne, I have probably spent, I would say it's probably 300 at this point, Dave, without exaggeration.
What, the movie 300?
No, we've spent 300 live streams together.
Oh, right, not the movie 300. Yeah, maybe, could be.
Okay, well, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Dave Byrne. I'm an attorney with the firm of Ansell Law, and I'm the chairperson of my law firm's community associations practice. We represent condominiums, HOAs, and co-ops in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania.
All right. And Michael. We can't hear you, Michael. I'm sorry. Wah, wah. I'll tell you what, why don't you try to give it a little bit and we'll get the program started here. And if you can't get it, we'll let you jump off at some point. We'll catch you next time. I'm glad you could hear us. So, yeah. All right, we'll see what happens. With that being said, you guys have already told a little bit about your different communities. And one thing I like to start off to ask people is tell me something that was an unexpected challenge. And we are going to talk about mean people today. No doubt about it. And we've already, the managers have already started telling some mean people stories, and I had to stop them because I wanted to hear about it when you guys hear about it. But before we get into the mean people, Anita, have you, and sometimes you don't, have you ever had an unexpected challenge in your career? And if so, what was it and how did you solve it?
I think I would say I'm going through that right now because I've never had to deal with no elevators in a high rise. And so about 3 months now, we've been to one, maybe two. And yeah, it's something I don't ever want to go through again. And it's still going. We got one right now. One went down early this morning. So yeah, never had to do it. Have had more conversations with all of the powers to be over the elevator companies and the DBPR and everything else. Never had to deal with DBPR because I'm kind of special like that. And I try to do what I'm supposed to do. So it's been a very hard challenge, and with a lot of help from our local fire department and our fire inspector, and you know, just getting all the proper materials that I need to keep us where we're not out of compliance and shutting down.
Right. So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you have no elevators right now?
Oh, we got one.
None? Oh, you got one. Okay.
One.
All right. That's
One.
good. Right. And
Yeah.
I really don't want to get off track here and spend too much time though, but what happens if you have no elevators? Do people have to leave the building, or you don't know?
Well, when we went down, which was on Memorial Day and Labor Day, we had absolutely no elevators. They all went down. So the lieutenant, he said for me to, you know, I went out with all of our owners and got who might be in the building that might be, you know, incapacitated, whether elderly or handicapped or something like that. So, and we did have to call the fire department and let them know what was going on because, you know, they need to know that they're going to have to go up 23 stairs if they have to come rescue somebody. So,
but here's
let's look at it. We did get it.
Here's my quick question. And if you don't know the answer because you haven't gotten it yet, don't worry about it. Let's say your elevators are not going to be fixed for 2 days. Do people have to leave the building, or can they stay, or you don't know yet?
I really don't know, but we did have them down for 2 days. They did a lot of walking. So, but we were we were in constant contact with the fire department and the, you know, building departments and all that. Yeah.
Did you walk up the 23 stories?
No.
Did you walk up the 23? Yeah, I mean, like I tried to walk up my 29-story unit one time, and it was like I got there, but it was like climbing Mount Everest. All right.
Yeah.
Heather, that is a huge challenge. Anita hasn't solved it yet. She's working on it. What about yourself? Have you ever had an unexpected challenge?
Yes. We had a tornado in February of 2023. That was interesting.
I remember.
New Jersey.
Now I remember why we spoke or why we were in touch with each other.
Yeah.
You had Dave, are you familiar with this? Did you hear about this?
No.
Okay. You had a lot of damage. It was like it looked like a Kansas. If I remember.
had a whole
What was the exact date again?
A whole gable wall flew across Quaker Bridge Road.
Right. So for those in the audience, we don't have a lot of like natural disasters in New Jersey.
Right.
Like maybe we'll have a hurricane come in, but like having a tornado and cause the amount of extensive damage that Heather had at her community was unbelievable. What did you learn from that, Heather? And were you satisfied how it all turned out?
I was, you know, of course, we involved insurance right away. The authorities were involved. As soon as it happened, the authorities were already in the community. We have another half of the community that is not managed by us, but one clubhouse was set up as like, you know, mission control, and our clubhouse was Red Cross and getting people into, you know, only a few buildings were really affected where people had to stay out for a night or two. So besides that, it wasn't horrible, but it was definitely a learning experience.
All right. So one last question for you in regard to this. Was it emotionally draining? I always try to convince managers to have an emergency plan for their own sanity. So they're already in a stressful situation. And if they have an emergency plan, phone numbers, things like that, it goes a lot easier. Was this an emotional experience for you?
Yeah, it was emotional. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say it was.
I mean, people were out of their home, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave has a huge home. People could go stay at his place next time. So just keep that in mind. He's about an hour away. And he takes pets, by the way, also. He loves animals. All right, Matthew, how about yourself? Any unexpected challenge?
I've got one right now. I had a part of a parking pad, if you will, or part of the parking level for an oceanfront place collapse into the ocean over the weekend. So, we've got king tides going on right now. Luckily, the building's already evacuated. We're doing a huge renovation project, but yeah, and I mean, it happens in cycles, unfortunately. About 9 years ago, you get the beach real close to the building, have to do the sandbags and protections, and then they renourish the beach, and it's 7-8 year cycle. We're back in that same area again. But yeah, so the garage section that we repaired 9 years ago is now holding up very well. It's just the areas to the right and to the left of it have collapsed. So
You seem really calm about this. To me, this seems like a really big deal. Like you're a big. I get the like you're feeling like. Well, I'm assuming a king's tide, is that a South Carolina term? I've never heard it. Anyone else on the panel ever hear the term king's tide? All right, what do
no,
you mean by that? I'm assuming
it's
super
just
high tide.
it's a super high tide. They come in cycles. It's about 5 times throughout the year, on different moon patterns and other patterns. I don't know why we get them so much here in Charleston, but we do. And so generally a king tide is about a foot higher than your regular tide. So I mean, a foot of lift is a pretty good bit, almost similar to a storm surge. So yeah, foot to foot and a half more than what you would normally have, and it affects drainage and other things. And unfortunately, we were already on a short beach, and you add another foot of rise to it, and it's created a problem.
And you said the item that collapsed was a parking pad, concrete?
Yeah, parking pad.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
And
actually a
had you had
truck
already,
that partially went in, construction truck. There weren't people there, but Sunday, yeah, partially fell through, and then we got the truck pulled out. But now you can look down into the hole and could jump in. It's probably 10 feet, and when the water's up, you see the waves. But we've got a beach renourishment plan in. We're just trying to make it to that point. And so our construction projects added a little more complications to the sandbags and where they can go and things, because you've got scaffolding and all of that stuff. So but yeah, welcome to my world.
We'll have you come back
Sweet.
and talk about dealing with the beach, because I live on the beach. My high-rise is on the beach. It faces the beach. And I don't think people understand how little water it takes to move something. And the other day I was watching some storage containers float by just with a little bit of a super high tide, and they keep chairs in them, and the water hit it, and didn't take much water to move it. So I want to get back to you, Matthew, and learn about how it is to work with the beach, because I know there's a lot of pitfalls and you have to be very careful, right, with the EPA and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Big problems, big fines. All right, Michael, did you make it back? Can you hear us? All right, we're going to let you go. And what I'm going to do is just give me a second here. I'm going to let him go because I don't know if he knows. Excuse. Are you sure you want to excuse? Okay, so he should pop off here in a second if I did it right. He just looks frozen to me, unless he's just being motionless on purpose. All right, with that, there he goes. With that being said, an audience, please tell me your mean people stories. I want to hear them. I'm desperate to hear them. Tell me about them. I could tell you a bunch of them because everybody calls me about them. But please just send them in. And like I said, I don't use anyone's name. All right, Dave, are you ready for mean people stories? Do you think you're going to be shocked today, or do you feel you're unshockable at this point?
I don't think I could be shocked. I think it's it's like people you call up at the cable company or at the phone company. Whenever people are contacting management or those kinds of companies, they usually have a problem, and so you're already set up to be annoyed. And I know when I call, I'm already annoyed, even if the guy on the phone hasn't done anything wrong yet. So I'm not. I expect to not be shocked.
Anita, Heather, and Matthew, Dave he's known, he's famous for being emotionalist. Like, he's an HOA lawyer. Like, you can't phase him. You know what I mean? Like, you throw a chair at him, he's just going to move out of the way. He's not going to react. So it'll be hard to see him be shot today, even if he is. All right. With that being said, who had the story about the car? I want to start there. Who was that? Oh, it was Matthew. Matthew.
So,
and I stopped the
one of-
audience because I wanted to hear about it when you guys hear it. So Matthew, tell us, this just recently happened, right?
Oh yeah. So one of our cams came up to me about 2 hours ago. He's like, "You won't believe what just happened." The homeowner called him and said that their neighbor, as they were like leaving in the driveway, opened their door to their car as they were leaving and put piles of dog poop in their car.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I guess they really like each other. New one.
Why? Do you have any? Are you aware of any?
He didn't give any background, but he's like, luckily the police is involved, and we're not. And we're like, yeah, try to stay out of this one as much as you can. Let them deal with it. But
the association has never been pulled into any kind of conflict resolution with these two people before, right?
no, it was a surprise. He didn't have the prior experience. Now, I mean, obviously, I'm sure all of us can know, like, there's certain neighbors that people do not like, and they bug us about their neighbors that they don't like, whether that's them getting restraining orders or, whatever. But yeah, this was a new one.
Yeah, that's pretty horrible. I think people like that could be dangerous too. If you're willing to throw dog poop in someone's car, that's someone I would be very wary of. I can't wait to hear like the rest of the story when you find out more about it. In this case, I'm going to go to Dave just for just some general legal viewpoint. But Dave, I'm guessing this is the perfect one for the HOA not to be involved in. Worked out perfect, right? The police are handling it.
Yeah, works out perfect. If at all possible, associations should try to remember that they're created to preserve property, manage the community, and not, intervene in or try to govern the lives of the people that live there.
Yeah. So Matthew, you never had any training in dog poop conflict resolution, right? So this worked out perfectly for you, right?
Yeah, not this way. Yeah. Normally it's,
Okay.
Somebody's ratting on their neighbor and this is their dog and they send the picture of it to us. Those are easier to deal with because it's actually, I'm sure Dave would agree, it's something we can, cite them for, give them a violation for.
I've heard, I'm going to move on to Anita, but I've heard many stories of people bringing poop into the office in a bag and feeling the need. They just can't. I guess maybe they feel you guys aren't going to believe them. But I've heard many stories of managers getting bags of poop that they don't want, Anita. Do you want to get a bag of poop?
No.
Crazy.
Candy, right? Maybe a bag of cookies would be nice, but not a bag of poop.
Potato chips. Yeah.
So Matthew I don't want to say he lucked out, but this one kind of worked out pretty good for the HOA so far because they're not involved. How about yourself? Do you have a mean person or crazy person story that you want to share?
I've got a crazy person I want to share. So,
okay, wait, just to remind you, just change the circumstances around if it's like going on right now and everything. You know what I mean? Because we just want to be careful. Go ahead, let's hear about it. Just the story will be the same, but we'll just change it.
Right. At a property I was managing, we had a owner that he was sitting up one night because his wife works out of town. At nighttime, and he always does his Ring doorbell, just watches it sometimes. And this is a high-rise condo, not where I'm working now. And so there was a gentleman every night when he would come home from work, he would open his door and he would strip down butt naked and walk down the hallway. So anybody could see him, anybody, And so they called me and asked me if I could take care of it. I went, knocked on the door, and, asked the man to please keep his clothes on until he got inside. I guess he really didn't like that, because then he got really, he would come out in the middle of the night, butt naked, smoke his cigarette, and we have, lots of children. So then he got really, mad at this man because, let me see how I can put this delicately. He would bring out, I guess, his girlfriend's toy, okay, while he was butt naked, and put his behind up to the Ring doorbell camera and, spread his cheeks and do whatever he wanted to do with that toy. But so I called the police. Well, we can't do anything about it unless you see him in person. I said, he's on the Ring doorbell. I watch all kinds of crime scene photo, shows. They always use them, He said, we can't use that. I said, okay. So anyhow, I called his boss man and, the chief, I guess you call it. Well, he didn't do anything. And I'm like, this man's out here. Some kid's going to walk up, see this man butt naked, And so I called the mayor then, and he's a very Christian man, really nice man. And so I told him, I said, something's going on. And I said, I know you probably don't want to hear this. So I laid it all out to him. He couldn't even talk to me. He said, I'll call you back. I'll call you back. And so anyhow, before I could even get back to my property, because I was had run an errand. So before I could get back to the property, that mayor, he done had that man arrested and took to the jailhouse. But that just shows you, that's why I said crazy. What kind of person does that? This man. Mm-hmm. So that's how our property did get on the news. Yeah.
Okay, this is why I'm so shocked, all right? First of all, I didn't expect that from you. Okay, I meant we're around the same age, and honestly, I just hearing you have to refer to the thing you just had to refer to was just shocking, because you just seem like a very polite person who's not going to like talk about these kind of things. And the story you just told me is one of the most worst. I have like a pit in my stomach, and it just got worse. Heather, do you agree? It just got worse and worse and worse. And I don't even feel comfortable repeating what some of the details of your story were. Okay. So, and I just want to ask you, this is a hallway in a building.
Yeah, it's
a 23-story building.
Yeah.
And you went and knocked on the door as the manager to try to work on this. So you're very brave also, because this seems like a very serious matter, unless I bet maybe Heather's used to it in New Jersey. This could happen all the time for all I know. But I don't even know what to say. Dave, I don't even know what to say.
I think it's somewhat unfortunate that Anita was asked to even engage in this silliness at the front end. She could have been in a really she was put in a very difficult position. That would be a difficult position for a large, strong, burly male in a situation like this. But the gender difference, I think created even more of a potential for violence. And it was very, the association could have had an issue with that if that had gone bad. Anita, are you a direct employee of the condominium involved, or were you as a management company?
Management company.
Okay. Yeah, and that creates another different dynamic as to whether the management company should have allowed that type of thing to take place.
They probably didn't. I did that all on my own, because I've just always done everything on my own. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what, Heather? I thought the same thing. Like, one of my initial reactions was like your own safety. And to me, we talk a lot about nudity, and sometimes there's not. Dave's going to have to correct me here, but there's not a lot you could do about nudity sometimes when it's in windows, and people have to be doing certain things to themselves and getting some kind of gratification in it. But but I would believe a naked man in the hallway and then bringing out the other devices. And it seems like this is definitely a criminal act. Dave, is it not a criminal act because it's private property theoretically? I mean, why would the police? This seems like if you're a cop, this is like right up your alley. This is a guy you want to.
I don't know. I mean, I think I think it probably is a crime, but I disagree. I mean, maybe I'm overly cynical, but this is exactly the kind of thing the cops don't want to do. I mean, this guy's probably mentally ill. He's not wearing clothing. Everyone's got cell phone cameras. I mean, what's this going to look like when the cops come? And the guy doesn't want to go with them. He doesn't want to put his clothes on. Then they have to grab him. Then he's resisting. And then, all of a sudden it's on cable news. So I don't know that cops would want to get involved in this at all, and would hope it would go away.
That's what they did. I hope it goes away. But they did arrest him. But he had his clothes
Right,
on when
but
they
he's-
arrested him.
But he's going to be back.
Oh yeah, I think they legally could have arrested him. I'm saying that it doesn't surprise me that at the front end of this, before you go to the mayor and the politicians, it doesn't surprise me that the actual police officers, who are the ones that have to deal with the lunatics in society every day, would try to avoid dealing with a naked lunatic. I mean, Matt, I just see the social media clips. They go into the hallway.
No.
There's a naked
Yeah.
guy. Everyone's Ring camera in the hallway is videotaping the whole thing, and before you know it, it's a Twitter, Instagram fad as to these cops
Well,
chasing some naked guy down the hallway. I mean,
It sounds like a
disaster.
great clip, actually,
Yeah,
Dave. That
yeah.
would be a plus, not a minus. The last thing I wanted to ask about Anita, and some people are asking me from the audience, is this a manager's? And I don't want to put you on the spot anymore, Anita, but I'm wondering, is this a manager's responsibility? That's where we get
Probably
to these
not.
common, because it's in a common
Yeah.
limited element, right? It's
Right.
I don't know.
Hmm.
I want to get away from this, Dave. I don't want to spend the whole session on it, but you want to offer. Is this one? Do you agree? Is this borderline theoretically for being a manager's responsibility? Like, why?
Yeah, I think you could. This is a hallway of a high rise or mid rise condominium, right?
Right.
It's so challenging, Ray, because if this were a open condominium, suburban, townhouse, and there was a naked guy walking down the street, you wouldn't have I wouldn't recommend to have your manager go up to the person but it's in this enclosed hallway of a condominium. So we feel that I think instinctively we think the dynamic is different, but maybe it really shouldn't be different. Right? I mean, the
dynamic
manager should
scares me.
simply call the police and do nothing other than open the front door.
The dynamic scares me because you
Yeah.
have this isolated hallway. There's not a lot of witnesses, and I think that is what going to be. Oh, by the way, my son is texting me when I'm watching the dog. You would think I'm watching I can't watch a dog. I'm literally getting text messages that I feed the dog, that I do this, that I play with the dog. Okay.
So
Anita?
Ray, I did have one where I had an elderly person kind of doing
Hold
something
on,
similar. She would just go
Hold on,
get her
hold,
mail.
hold on
like-
1 second. Give me 1 minute.
I
Let
can
me go to
still hear
Heather,
y'all.
and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're definitely not going to run out. Let's see if Heather. I mean, it's going to be hard to beat Anita. Okay, Heather, I think I'm calmer now. How about yourself?
Hmm.
How about
I
somebody
have a
mean?
few.
Well, just pick
Um,
one.
I would say hoarders. Hoarders are really hard to deal with.
Definitely.
I had one in Pennsylvania once, and I tried to get help from everyone from the township health department, the township fire department, the township police department, the county. She had to actually say that she needed help in order for anyone to do, to take any kind of, or that she wanted help. So it wound up being a police officer that actually helped her out, and she actually flooded her unit. And it was just left to, got all molded and affected other units because they were attached townhomes. So yeah, that was an interesting one.
Yeah, I want to be careful because I don't want to spend too much time on this one either. We've done full hours on hoarding.
Oh yeah.
And I think Dave is going to agree. These are people with a mental illness, so you have to tread lightly with them
Very.
because I believe they have a disability, and it's extremely a dicey situation for the association. by the way, I love Matthew offering my legal commentary, which means nothing because I don't know anything, and then seeing if I'm right. Let's see. Dave, am I right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When am I going to get my honorary law degree? I just know so much. Okay. Matthew, hold on one second. Let me just go through the audience here. Let's see what they say. Somebody is saying, Anita, why isn't this just a neighbor to neighbor issue? I think we spoke about that. Audience, it's not uncommon. Managers, Anita, if you don't mind me asking, how long have you been there?
I was at that property for 3 years.
Okay. I mean, a lot of the managers feel really closely and very protective of the residents. So sometimes their initial reaction is they want to help. And this is what happens sometimes. When we took down a tree in the wetlands, someone screamed at the contractor. Somebody said Dave Stace appeared shocked during Anita's story.
Oh yeah, it did feel shocked. I was surprised.
Anita, I feel like you should win a prize.
I was fearing it was going to end in something a lot worse than it ended.
You're frozen, Anita. So why don't you try to turn your camera back on and off, see if you pop
Well,
back on.
My computer went down, so I'm talking on my phone, so it's coming back up as soon as it gets back up. Yeah, the power surge.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No problem. We have a homeowner, no matter what we ask them to do, you come back with that we're picking on them. Most times they are in violation. She confronts the property manager and board members. There are so many crazy, and there's a lot of comments about the naked guy, and they're saying they should move to Heather's property. Everyone should move to Heather's neighborhood. Okay, well, there you go. All right. Matthew, yeah, you had another one before I interrupted you.
Yeah, well, on a similar note to what Anita was saying, I did have one where an elder woman was kind of getting old and had some dementia setting in, and so when she would go down to get her mail, sometimes she would not have a robe on and just walk down the hallway, go check her mail, go up the elevator again, back into her unit, butt naked. And,
so Dave,
I mean, we worked on getting the family involved in it more than anything. We had the police stop by, but obviously it was more of a mental thing than a intentional act.
So you took the approach of a more compassionate approach. That's what I'm sensing here, Matthew, right? You knew that this was somebody struggling mentally. Am I hearing that correct? No one was mad. Yeah. No one was angry, right?
And the same lady would throw all of her husband's clothes out the balcony, fourth floor balcony into the beach as well. So it would happen. So she had some mental things going on.
Okay. Like the naked thing. Yeah. But she has a husband, right?
Yeah. He wouldn't be there. Like when she was naked, he wouldn't be there. He'd have gone like to the grocery store or something, and then luckily there weren't a lot of residents, and but a couple people did see it, and then that's when we were like, you got to get the family involved. And then shortly thereafter, like her husband convinced her she needed to go to a assisted living, and that's what happened within a couple months of the last situation. So
yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, that one I feel like more of a compassion angle, right? Like, like obviously call the authorities and make sure she's taken care of properly. Dave, does an association, I'm curious, does the association have the right to let compassion play a role? We have two people here, right? They're both naked in public. We have the man, and let's say he's not doing those other things. He's a big burly man and he's naked in the hallway running around. And then we have an elderly woman who appears to have dementia. Can the association treat them both differently, or will they be accused of discriminating possibly against one over the other?
Well, that's a loaded question, because sure, they'll be accused of everything, but that doesn't make it true. I think that associations make a mistake when they believe a sort of conventional view that they can't, quote unquote, discriminate against people. discrimination is not in and of itself inappropriate or illegal. We discriminate every day by what we wear and what we don't wear, by the friends we choose to keep, but we discriminate all the time. We choose between certain things. Only certain types of discrimination are illegal. So if you treat the woman, and this is hypothetical, differently from how you treat the man, as long as you treat them differently for things that are appropriate, it's okay. If you treat them different because their skin color is different, or because one of them gave you a bribe and the other one didn't, well, that's a different story. But if you treat the man differently from the woman because the man doesn't appear to be mentally ill, or he's unnecessarily violent and the woman is, or the woman has someone you can call and the man doesn't. There may be all kinds of different reasons to treat them differently. As long as the board has a fair and honest belief that there's a reason to treat two people differently, it's not a problem.
Heather, these are the kind of tough calls that managers seem to have to make. Like at the moment, maybe they shouldn't, but it seems like it's really easy to get somebody flies into your office, right? And they're like, there's a naked lady in the parking lot, or there's a naked man in the hallway. It's easy for managers to respond very quickly and kind of get worked up into the whole scenario. Do you agree or disagree?
I do agree, but I would call the police immediately.
Okay, so you would not at this point. How long have you been a manager for?
Total about 13 years.
So you feel that it would take a lot for you to, pull the trigger really quickly and take any action. You would pretty much think it out.
Yeah, because first you have to find out what unit he belongs to and all that, and
Okay,
I don't know.
Joe. Oh, Anita's back. Good. Joe, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, can you very quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, Joe Thompson with Acrisure, specializing in community association, insurance, and risk management, and I'm based in Florida.
All right, Joe. So what do you think about naked men in hallways running around with certain kinds of paraphernalia on a regular basis? What is your feeling about that?
Don't say I'm in favor of it.
It doesn't sound like a societal norm, I can tell you that. Obviously, in the context of community association, something like that needs to be addressed, right? And addressed quickly and decisively from the standpoint of communicating with the appropriate parties that may or may not have been involved with that type of an incident. I think that would be the first and foremost piece of action that would need to occur. Obviously from an insurance perspective, I jumped in when there was some discussion about discrimination. Whether or not something like that comes into play again, there'd have to be a suit filed and a demand of some manner made with respect to filing a D&O claim if somebody believes they're a protected class that might be applying to. But in the absence of that, to I think David's point, you have rules and regulations in the community association, which may in some regards be discriminating against certain things like work trucks in your driveway or what have you. There's rules for a reason, and if somebody's not abiding by those, you have to enforce it accordingly.
Now, I don't want to get sidetracked on a whole topic here. I don't want to stay focused with the managers and things like that in the audience. I think battery is something that's tricky in insurance, right? Whether it's covered or not, if you're accused of the crime of battery. Is that accurate, Joe? Or am I wrong on this? You're a manager, you get involved, and I want to go somewhere with this. You're a manager, you get accused of battery or assault. Theoretically, you may not have coverage from the association's policy. Is that possible or not possible, or true or false?
So anytime you say theoretically you may not have coverage from the association's policy, there's a number of factors that come into play. Number one, who is an insured under the policy, right? So you have to look at the definition of who is actually an insured. In the situation of it being a manager, most likely they're an insured under the casualty and under the D&O. However, when it comes to something like assault and battery, a number of casualty policies specifically exclude assault and battery. And there's quite a few that will provide a sublimit for that, which is a much lower limit than what your general aggregate $2 million limit would be for something of that nature. Others will have a deductible or a retention tied to bodily injury claims, which could be fairly substantial. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. You know, the insurance policy is like a contract, and it gets very granular in terms of what it's going to cover and what it's not going to cover. So the answer would be similar to a lawyer's answer. It depends. It depends on the context of what the policy contract is between the insured and the carrier.
I knew you were going to say it depends. And Matthew knew it too. I could just tell that he was going to say, you know what? I'm going to go back to Joe, Matthew, but you know what I'm wondering is, you know, is it fair to put managers in these positions where they have to go and deal with people who are mentally unstable because, you know, they can be easily accused of some form of assault or something. It's not always a scenario where the manager is a smaller person. I hate to say it, it could be the manager who is a much larger person who could be it's easily feasible they could be the perpetrator of a crime physically. Is it fair, Matthew, when there's this possible insurance exclusion that could take place? I'm just curious what you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in difficult situations, I mean, even either having a board member or another party there with you, you know, as an observer or as your witness is always helpful. Yeah, especially if you think you're going to, you know, be with a confrontational type individual or somebody who, again, like we were talking about before, is kind of mentally not there, right? You know, we could have a conversation and they totally forget, you know, in 2 days what the conversation was. And at least you have somebody else, you know, maybe there with you to back you up if it does go sideways.
Anita, do you have anybody that can go with you on these kind of things? I'm just curious. I bet it's kind of a hard ask, right? Like I'm hanging around here like, hey, Ray, I got a naked guy in my hallway running paraphernalia. Come on over. I'm going to go talk to him. You know, I'm probably going to pass, but I don't know. I'm curious.
Now, I have to say, I have to say, when I went to the door, it was not while he was naked. Okay. I did not, you know, I knocked on the door after the fact. Okay. Normally, I don't ever go to a door without somebody. Either whether one of the security guards or, you know, sometimes it was my admin or, you know, just whatever. But there was always somebody. This just happened to be a case that I
understand.
You know, I knew he had just gotten home, so I knew he was closed. Okay. Yeah.
Somebody is asking me, how do you possibly go home and tell your spouse what your day at work was like? I'm just curious. I'm not trying to pry into your personal life. Do you go home to another person, Anita, that at this point in, I mean, just how do you share this story when somebody says, what was your day like? I bet Heather's smiling because I think she's probably been in his boat too. Who would believe it?
My husband, he just never knows what I'm coming home to tell him because, you know, like I said, I'm in Panama City Beach, Florida. We do the spring break thing down here. So we have all kinds of stories. So, I mean, he's used to it. And he thought that was really, really, he thought it was really funny. He told me I shouldn't have done it. But, yeah, he did think it was really funny. So, yeah.
That is funny. You know, Joe, so I think that alone may be a reason too that managers just, I think, you know, you just summed it up perfectly, right? Just bring somebody with you whenever you can, so you have a witness. We've done hour-long live streams about this, and the importance of it, because I've heard some horror stories where really nice, it's mostly board members, have been accused of crimes and basically had to deal with it on their own.
You know, another thing, and this is more slip and fall oriented, but could be applied to any type of a difficult situation, is you always want to document it, right? From an insurance perspective, incidents report, if there's any videographic, photographic evidence, anything you can do at the time that the incident is occurring or shortly thereafter. That way it's fresh in everybody's mind. You have the names of the people that were there, witnesses, contact information, everybody's in agreement with what they saw. And it's just very helpful if it ultimately rises to the level of a claim that's filed from an insurance standpoint.
Okay. Someone is saying we have a bourbon index in my house. My hubby is a firefighter, and I occasionally, I guess, top the stories. Very, very occasionally. Heather, I do know a manager that had a husband that was a firefighter, and she would go home and complain about her day. And then her husband, as a firefighter, would talk about his day in a very busy city. And she said she felt silly communicating about her day based on what her husband had to go through. It was literally like saving babies out of buildings. You know what I mean? Have you ever saved a baby out of a building, Heather? I'm curious.
No, I have not.
Somebody asked me, when the tornado took place, were you there, or did it happen during off hours?
I was here.
Okay, so just kind of quickly, did you hear it, or was it in a different part of the community? Did you know it was coming? Was there a warning?
I have the pool deck is right behind my window, and there are two big trash cans, and they both moved. And that's when I knew that something crazy was going on. And then I started getting calls that trees were down and trees were on cars, and yeah.
How long did it take the owners to call the management? Like, to me, this seems ridiculous. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Do owners call you immediately after that? Like if a hurricane came through the community, I would have picked up the phone in the next 3 minutes and call the manager and tell them, oh, there's some trees down in parking lot 3. Is that what happened, Heather? Did people call you almost immediately?
Yes, they started calling right away.
Anita, are you surprised about that? Oh, I don't know if Anita can hear me. Matthew, are you surprised about that people would call immediately?
No, I'm not surprised by anything. I feel like, I definitely feel like it happens all the time. I mean, sometimes if you're not there, understanding, a tree has fallen is helpful, because so many people will drive by a tree that they think somebody else has called about, and you don't find out about it till the next day. But if a tornado passed through, I haven't dealt with one of those immediately, but I'm sure we would get calls very quickly.
We were having a board meeting that night.
Oh,
a scheduled
did you have
board
it?
meeting. Yeah, we had to cancel.
Well, that seems terrible. Did you give people bagels, or were the bagels ruined?
We actually do order dinner, and we let the people that were dealing with the Red Cross eat everything. The residents.
Wait a minute. You guys have, all right, really quick. Matthew, what do you have at your board meetings? Bagels? Donuts?
No
cookies?
dinner. Yeah, none of that.
Okay, that's what I'm
try to
getting
get
at.
in and out as soon as possible.
Anita, what do you have at your meetings? Cookies? Bagels?
Nothing except for at the annual meeting. That's the only time. Yeah, nothing.
Dave, have you ever been to a meeting? Like your neighborhood must be amazing, Heather, where you get served dinner at the board meeting?
Yeah, it's we have an executive session and then an open session. So it's usually just for the, the board. Just a pizza, pretty much.
I'm thinking like I could see the owners.
Oh, no, it's not catered or anything.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a sit down dinner. Joe has chefs and things like that in his life. So I thought maybe it was something Joe would be used to at his house, where the chef comes out and makes a gourmet dinner or something. Or I think the butler calls.
That would be great. Maybe they could do that for my kids too, and we wouldn't have to make them dinner. It would make my life a lot easier.
Yeah, because Joe's been selling insurance a long time, so the butler comes and gets him and wakes him up from his nap and tells him that dinner's ready, and then he makes his way out to there. Okay. With that being said,
sounds amazing.
All right, I'm going to give you a shot in our remaining time. You must have one quick story you could tell us about a mean or crazy resident, and maybe we could learn a lesson from it.
There's quite a few.
Something must have happened.
Well, yeah, there's always one or a few, right? It's always the vocal minority in the context of, mostly condo associations that I deal with. And there was one in particular that was actually at one point was the board president of a very large association, well over 300 units, maybe 360 some odd units, and was sort of displaced and recalled very, disgracefully, no longer on the board. And ever since that occurred many years ago, chose to make it his mission, crusade, if you will, to be a thorn in whatever boards would come on, from after his period of time, being in power, if you will. And he was at every single meeting, stood up, just pontificated about nonsense. And one of his biggest gripes was insurance. Lucky me. So every year I would have to be at the meeting, negating all of the fast and loose facts that he would be trying to throw out in front of the board, with regard to insurance and other issues that he would choose to kind of gravitate toward. But yeah, once this gentleman actually put his unit up for sale, and jokingly I asked the current board to say, hey, maybe everybody can just chip in and they can just buy it and get him out of here as soon as possible, because there are over 300 doors in this association to kind of proportion that. But ultimately he did sell and he's no longer there. But yeah, what a nightmare resident for the board to deal with, and frankly for me to deal with.
All right, Joe, after the story, I got to be honest with you, after the story that Anita told us, if that is
Not
your
even close.
crazy and mean
Yeah,
person story,
it.
and that's what upset you, I got to be honest.
Well,
Even
you asked
Matthew,
personal
Matthew,
to me.
Matthew,
When
be
someone
honest. You're
attacks you
thinking
at
the
the
same
board
thing, right?
meeting
Like
about your
Matthew and
crap,
Heather,
yeah.
we're all thinking like big deal. I mean, like, I'm sorry you got asked insurance questions once a year by some man.
It was,
I mean,
yeah.
You can come back and try to give us a better story.
I didn't
next
mention
time.
the worst part was that he had no clothes
forget it.
on every meeting, totally naked.
No, you can't make up things now. You're done. All right, that was okay. Dave,
So that's all I got. That's all I got, Ray.
Dave,
Sorry.
please don't tell me a story how, as a lawyer, someone was mean to you at the meeting. See, Joe, when you come in late, we kind of get on you a little bit. But all right,
Fair
Dave,
enough.
Dave, you must have a crazy and mean. It doesn't have to happen to you. Maybe I misled Joe and he thought it had to happen to him. It could happen to anyone. Dave, you must have something. I mean, I know you have stuff.
I mean, I guess I've experienced angry owner meetings where people yell and complain, but I never felt
Did
anything
someone throw a
was,
chair at you?
no, I don't think anybody's ever thrown a chair
Okay.
at me. Nothing's ever been that, nothing's been that crazy for me. I don't know. Unless my tolerance level is high. I don't know.
Matthew, how many
I've got
times
a
have you
quick
been called a
funny.
bat?
I got a quick funny one
Right.
that everybody would appreciate, especially if there's some out there in the single family world. So we had two neighbors. They had restraining orders against each other, and they didn't like each other, and so they would complain about each individual one, right? And so one had a bird feeder in their backyard, and they hung a like a plastic rat from their bird feeder because they knew the other neighbor was ratting them out and complaining. And so the other neighbor, of course, saw the hanging rat, and they said, you've got to do something about this. You've got to remove the rat. I can't be in my backyard and look at his bird feeder with a rat hanging off of it. So yeah, picture that for your neighbor.
Did you say it was a fake rat or a real rat?
Yeah, yeah, it was a fake one. It was just, he was just poking
Dave,
fun at his neighbor being the rat.
Dave, here's a legal question so we could take something away from that, which was that was a pretty horrible story. When does something become a threat? Right?
Well, what's interesting, yeah, they're I mean, anybody that we've talked about this before knows I'm my perspective is the association should be more conservative in their approaches to the individual disputes of people. But there is a dynamic that does change that a little bit under current federal law, at least the way the law is currently interpreted. Individual disputes or disputes between individual owners that involve racial animus or religious animus or those kinds of like things that are triggers for fair housing related problems. As far as the federal government's concerned, an HOA or a condo has an affirmative duty to get involved with that, whether it's provide alternative dispute resolution or the like. So in the event that there's a dispute, and this rat example would be a good one. So at first glance, you would think, okay, these two owners have trouble with themselves, they can do whatever they need to do to work them troubles out. But if the association gets word that, I would thought maybe the story was going to go where they maybe hung hung someone in effigy off a tree, and perhaps it looked a little bit too like a lynching or something really awful and crazy. That might trigger an association response beyond just letting individual people fight fight their own little individual battles. Because under current federal law, if there's any sort of indication of some sort of racial, religious, or such bias, associations may have an obligation to intervene. That does change things a little bit.
All right, Dave. So here's the big question. Like, it seems, where's the gray area, right? Like when, so it's, but it's obvious, right? That's an easy one.
Yeah, it's
right?
obvious.
Somebody
It's
says
obvious.
something or puts something up, but what about when it's in the middle? What happens if the association takes action or if they don't take action? It seems like they can't win because, and aren't we always dealing with stuff in the middle? I mean, really quick, Joe, back me up. A lot of the lawsuits you see start with things that are just in a gray area. Would you agree, Joe? And they grow into other things before Dave offers commentary.
So sometimes, I mean, I think the gray area stuff would be more along the lines of the directors and officers type claims that we see. I mean, the casualty claims, the property claims are pretty black and white, but I think, yeah, the DNO has potential for somewhat of a nuanced scenario, possibly depending on the lawsuit.
So Dave, like, what about the gray area? Who
I think
decides? Do they call the attorney?
The gray area is difficult. At the very least, it's an obligation to investigate. If an owner comes in and says, my neighbor threw, one of the guys, might have been Matthew's story with the dog feces, I forget. But if someone comes in and says, hey, my neighbor put that on my front step, I want you to do something about it. You don't have to do anything about it. It's not an HOA problem. But you should inquire in some way as to whether or not you think there was any racial or ethnic or religious motivation involved. So that you have to try to get yourself through the gray area through a little bit of legwork and a little bit of investigation. Hey, so instead of just saying, dude, sorry, it's, outside my responsibility. We're here to deal with, property related problems and not your inability to get along with your neighbor. You have to ask some questions. What's this about? And look, you said before, I mean, a lot of it sort of is, when you see it, right? I mean, if there's some animus going on that is not just personality, but involves, race or religion or, sexual orientation, all these types of things that are protected by law. It's sort of like the Supreme Court said about pornography all those years ago. It's hard to define it, but I know it when I see it.
Well, I don't really know, Dave. Sometimes people who are a protected class look at something a lot differently than a manager would, because they may not have the same.
Don't look at it like protected class. Don't look at it like a protected class, like as if there's only some people that are worthy of protection from this type of thing. It's anyone who is the victim of any type of thing that's based on animus. So it's not like, you're a protected type of religion or a protected type of race or something. It's everyone. If there's any racial animus involved in an individual dispute, it could be actionable under federal law, and the association could be held responsible if it fails to do anything. It wouldn't have to be. It's not like certain types of people can be the victim of racial animus and not have anybody help them. It's anybody, any type of animus. That the motivation is the key, not the recipient. So it could be a simple comment. It's just in an email chain you see where someone just drops something, something that you try not to say, and you hope you hope that you don't hear people saying it. So you drop a little comment or something. That it's very, very difficult to know. Very gray area.
Yeah, and once again, like, I've been doing this a long time, and it's so unfair to managers, I think, to get kind of like they have to make these judgment calls. So I don't know why they just wouldn't call the attorney or get some backup on it. But I don't know, I guess. But they're stuck. All right, we only have a minute here, so really, really, really quick closing thoughts, if any. Joe, like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever you got, anything.
Closing thoughts, or to your point, I mean, the board hires advisors, and in situations that are difficult, where you have animus situations, you have nuances, gray areas, contact your representatives that you work with that are part of your team, lawyer, whomever, insurance broker, et cetera.
Why not cover your butt, Matthew? Commentary?
Yeah, I agree.
Figuratively and literally.
Well, that was
Anita's
case. Case needed to cover more.
Heather, any closing thoughts? Nothing surprised you today, but I don't think, right?
I would say when dealing with mean residents and, disgruntled residents, it took me a long time to get a thicker skin and to be able to let those things kind of roll off my back. But I say kill them with kindness.
I know a lot of people
Always
say
just,
that.
I always just try to respond kindly and with empathy, and it kind of, you catch more flies with honey, so.
I know a lot of people do. A lot of people say that, and I admire them that they can do it. Anita, I thought it was great having you. Any closing thoughts? I hope everything works out for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm like Heather. I believe in being nice to people. Now I can turn on a dime if I have to, but if you start off nice, generally you get further. Now not in that situation, but generally you get further, whether it's just, talking to people at the pool that's drinking in the pool or something, and you got to tell them to get out. You do it nicely and they take it a lot better than when you're mean. Yeah.
But I love it when you said you could turn on a dime. That's the part I want to see. So try to get me some video of that, because I have a funny feeling you could be pretty tough. You're nice. You're nice up to the point, but when you go tough, I bet you could be tough. So I want to appreciate everybody for being here so much. Thank you. If some people ask questions, I am going to send them to the right professionals and try to get you back some answers. So thanks everybody for being here. Much appreciated. It was nice meeting all the new managers. Joe, thanks for getting here. I know you were obviously super busy. And Dave, as always, thank you for being here. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Enjoy
Thank
it.
you, Ray. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yep.